This is a very important round of assembly elections because it is going to shape up the national trajectory from here on till 2024 elections. So, the issues first. You all know after 2019 election, a couple of national issues dominated our political life. So the big protests that happened on CA and NRC in 2019, and then farm laws in 2020. Uh, each of these issues had very limited resonance compared to the protests we saw in Delhi and elsewhere in last 2 years. CANRC had some limited resonance in parts of Upper Assam and also in Lower and Barak Valley. But apart from Assam and Bengal, CANRC was in the rhetorics of leader, but wasn't sort of like very important campaign theme on the ground. Uh, the pandemic has hit us all hard, and especially the poor have been hit economically much harder. But price rise, economic issues, they were of course part of election repertoire, but it doesn't seem these are going to be the determining factors in voting behavior in most places. Similarly, farm laws didn't seem like a very important issue. What seems to be happening instead is at least it is clear from Assam and Bengal that we are seeing a new wave of ethnic polarization on religious lines. Some of these sentiments were also very evident in Kerala on the issue of Sabrimala temple, which was not there till many weeks before the assembly elections, but during the last few weeks it came back. Then there were issues of love jihad. Uh, Many of the states, especially West Bengal, there was a lot of talk of corruption and inefficient management of relief money or welfare schemes. Welfare schemes, on the other hand, seems to be one big talking point in all states, especially the schemes which were targeting women voters. This is a new category of voters that seems to be influencing electoral choices. Now let's get to the second question, which is what might happen in these five states on May 2. So there is some amount of consensus on two southern states, Union Territory of Puducherry and Tamil Nadu. Uh, Puducherry had a Congress government a few weeks before the election. There was a defection from the Congress towards BJP side, and the government lost majority. So election happened where some of the Congress legislators are now contesting on BJP ticket in alliance with a major Puducherry-based party, NRC. And the consensus is that NDA, so NRC plus BJP, is likely to form the next government. In Tamil Nadu, AIDMK, which has been in power for 10 years, so it's facing a 10-year anti-incumbency. This is the first assembly election which is happening after the demise of two stalwarts, Karunanidhi and Jayalalitha. In 2016, the data suggests that women voters alone, basically in some ways, gave a decisive victory to Jayalalitha. In her absence, how are these going? How are women voters going to vote? That's a big question. But overall, the consensus seems to be that DMK and its leader MK Stalin is on road to victory. How much big that victory is going to be, I think that's a question to look for on May 2nd. And especially because there has been a split in AIDMK. So, of course, the current chief minister EPS got various factions together, but TV Dinakaran, who's Sashikala's nephew, and they were sort of very close to Jalilta, had walked out of AIDMK and formed a new party. So even that is hurting AIDMK alliance with the BJP. The other southern state, Kerala. So Kerala has a pattern for last 4 decades where the ruling party always loses power. This is the first time that a lot of people who have been reporting from the ground in Kerala suggest that this pattern might be broken and LDF may return to power. And there have been a couple of reasons they are citing why this might happen. So, one, the government seems to have done fairly well in terms of providing welfare, managed the pandemic or the aftermath of pandemic and the floods relatively better. They also did well in local body elections that happened in October, November last year. So all of this basically gave an advantage to LDF. But in the last week of campaigning, it seemed that Congress-led UDF has got its act together, and the election could be much closer. In fact, even swing in favor of UDF by a close margin. So this is one state, I think, where there is some amount of confusion, with, of course, the consensus being that LDF may finally emerge as a victor. Uh, Moving on to the eastern states, Assam, where BJP, along with its allies, has been ruling for last 5 years. Uh, in January, February, it seemed like that BJP is on a course to easy victory in Assam, but Congress managed to stitch a very important coalition with AIUDF and Bodoland People's Front and some left parties also. So overall, Congress not only got a formidable alliance to challenge the NDA, but they also campaigned hard. Chief Minister from Chhattisgarh, in fact, camped in Assam for many days, got his team there. So the question, I think people who have been reporting from Assam after the verdict are writing, Congress gave a good fight, but will that be enough to sort of stop the BJP from another round of victory? The most important election has been of West Bengal. Many people have called this as one of the most important election, which is going to, set the narrative for 2024. Uh, West Bengal has been having 8 phase-long elections. Four have already voted. So areas closer to Jharkhand border has already voted, and South Bengal has already voted. Now we are basically moving towards Central and East Bengal. So there are 2 or 3 very important things, which is basically making this West Bengal election not only keenly contested, but could be very, very close. One, a lot of people are arguing that the anti-incumbency sentiment with TMC government is so high that even Mamata Banerjee's own popularity will not be able to stop from many of TMC voters basically going against them. The second important point is that Mamata Banerjee has a very formidable base in the state. 1/3 of the state's population is Muslim, so she has a very formidable base there, and then she has a formidable base among urban poor. But will that be enough to save the fort? We don't know. The reason we don't know, one, as I mentioned about the anti-incumbency, which is arising out of inefficiency in management of welfare schemes. There are charges of corruption in relief money allocated during the Amphan cyclone. In fact, if you listen to the speeches by Prime Minister and Home Minister and other BJP leaders, they always talk about syndicate and cut money, which is basically, talking about a whole lot of corruption. So given this, it seems that TMC has a formidable base, but BJP has a momentum. They did well in, BJP's graph in last 5 years in West Bengal has been rising. They did extremely well in 2019 election. I think the big question is, so of course BJP is on the rise, whether the momentum in their favor will help them crossing the majority mark, or is it enough to, lead to an outright victory, a sweeping mandate? That I think is still unknown because half of the seats have not yet voted. But one thing which we know about Indian election, that in especially long phased election, if one party makes a gain in the initial phases, they are more likely to build onto that momentum, and by the time the polling concludes, the gap will basically keep on increasing. Finally, coming to the third question, which is on the national implications. So, of course, this is a very, very important election for the BJP. They might not make any big gains in the south. If they manage on to hold Assam and win West Bengal, then I think their eastward sort of dominance gets new heights. And I think the kind of campaign that has been unleashed in Bengal, its tremors will be felt across the eastern seacoast of India for next couple of years. This will, of course, no matter what happens in Bengal election, BJP is poised to make big gains in terms of seats, which will, of course, help the party gaining more seats in Rajya Sabha. For Congress, this is a very, very important election, especially because the party's presidential elections are likely to be held after the verdict. Uh, it's so in Bengal, Congress remains a marginal player. Even in Tamil Nadu, they are banking on DMK. There again, they are marginal player. Uh, in Puducherry, they seem to have already lost the election. If Congress does not win Assam, and given the historical nature where it's their chance in Kerala, if they don't manage to get Kerala, the Congress party is going to be in big trouble. The third national party is left. They have already, lost a lot of ground in West Bengal. It's unlikely that they are going to make any big gains there. Uh, can they hold on to Kerala? If they don't manage to hold on to Kerala, then left will not have any government in any part of India. Finally, this is also an important election to basically give us a direction about the future of regional parties, the federal balance. If Mamta wins, of course, she might emerge as a very important sort of pole around which opposition parties can coalesce. But if she loses, then I think the talks of oppositional alliance may gain further momentum, but we don't know around which party or which leader this will happen. So, all in all, May 2nd is going to be very, very important. You should definitely watch the exit polls that will be declared on April 29. But as someone who looks and watches exit poll data very, very carefully, I'm always open to surprises on the counting day. And so should you be. That's the beauty of Indian democracy. Thank you.